When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite. Obey your thirst.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
The Subaru Share the Love event is on from November 20th to January 2nd. During this event, Subaru donates to charities like the ASPCA, helping support more than 142,000 animals so far. When you purchase or lease a new vehicle during the 2025 Subaru Share the Love event, Subaru and its retailers will make a minimum $300 donation to charity. Visit Subaru.com/share to learn more.
Hello there, Stanley Carr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And with me right now, I've got a very special guest. He is a former WCW star, also spent time in the WWE. The one and only Ernest the Cat Miller is with us. Welcome, Ernest, to Wrestling with Heart.
Hey, man, thanks for having me here, man, and looking forward to talking to you for a few minutes.
Yeah, same here. So tell me about your childhood and upbringing. Where are you from?
Man, I'm from Atlanta. I'm from Georgia, about 15 minutes outside of Atlanta, Georgia, Decatur, Georgia. And, yeah, that's where I'm from.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's like the heart of the South, but there's like so many things.
So many different spots and places around. A lot of people say they're from Atlanta. They're not from Atlanta. They're from one of its out kind of surrounding areas.
And so much history with pro wrestling going back to the Crockett's, and it's really incredible to see how wrestling has evolved in that area. And you were a part of some major history, which we'll get into in just a little bit. But growing up, doing some research on your career, you were an athlete. I mean, you were a martial artist and played football. Were you always big into athletics?
I wasn't big into athletics. I kind of grew into it. I didn't really start playing organized sport until I was maybe 15, 16. But I did karate at an early age, about 11 or 12 years old.
And, you know, someone that has taken karate classes, got his black belt, I can attest to the fact that it teaches you a lot. It teaches you discipline, hard work, perseverance. And I'm sure that prepared you for your career later on as a professional wrestler.
Well, I don't think it prepared me. It kind of carried me through my professional careers, you know, in football, and everything was centered around that same ability and liability too of martial arts. You know what'll work and what won't work. You know what might pay off and what may not pay off. So, you know, they kind of guided me a lot through my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, you learn the footwork, and it's kind of like dancing, you know, one step here, another step here. get all that fundamentals together, and you're able to just create just incredible movement. And so, anything, pieces of advice from your trainers from martial arts that still sticks with you now, and how that kind of parlays later into your wrestling career?
My instructor taught me a lot, and I got 5 different black belts, and I'm working on I'm working on number 5 now. I'm a brown belt, and
Congratulations.
Kyokushin Oyama. It's Oyama karate. But what this taught me was my martial arts taught me it's really when most people hear of martial arts, they think of, like you said, movement, the physical part of it. There's a there's a deep mindset in martial arts that is more mental than in the physical thing. Meditation and stuff like that. And karate really kind of helped me instill that in my unit of things that I use to cope with life. And it helped me also as I started getting old and recognizing that it's more mental. Or to me, life is more mental than physical. So that's how karate helped me to kind of recognize, to organize, to recognize that.
It's a journey. It's
But
very spiritual.
it's not a physical. A lot of people walk through the world and stomp on the ground and slam doors and do whatever physical thing they want. I seem to be more of a mental person. I do a lot of situations where physically my hands and feet could have got me out of it, but I got out of it mentally and helped transcend whatever their predicament was.
Did you get to compete in a lot of tournaments?
I competed in everything, all kinds of fight, tournament fight, bare knuckles, jujitsu. I'm competing in physical warfare a lot, but it wasn't part of my routine. It was just something I wanted to test myself.
And so through that, you helped train Eric Bischoff's son Garrett, and that kind of led you to work for WCW. What was
Well,
that?
I didn't help train it. I did train it. He was one of my karate students. And that was not what got me into wrestling. What got me into wrestling was the talent that Eric Bischoff saw in me. And that was a little bit more than just karate. He saw, like you said, he saw a person, a good person, a person that may do well physically and on the business side and be a good person in the business. So it wasn't all karate.
Was wrestling something you had watched as a kid growing up?
Everybody watched it where I was from. I mean, as a child, a lot of my friends did watch pro wrestling. So occasionally I would see it, and I had my heroes too, my wrestling heroes. That I wasn't a every night watcher, kind of like a lot of people. But there was sometime I did go and catch championship wrestling.
Who are some of your favorites?
Um, Back then, Dusty Rhodes, Mr. Wrestling, number one, number two, Thunderbolt Patterson, Ernie the Cat Lad. I mean, I was a fan when I did watch it. I watched just for the characters. So all the characters, guys back then, man, with the charisma and the big personality, those was the guys I really enjoyed watching.
Yeah, I think characters is just very vital to the product because they just bring so much energy and uh, positivity to the show. When you watch it, you get, think back to like Rikishi, for example, with his dancing. You
Mhm.
yourself, were able to have some of that movement go on in the ring, and just getting the crowd involved, you know, just there's no better feeling in the world to be able to provide fans with entertainment.
You
And
know what, man? That's anybody. It's not just fans. And I know I keep talking outside of what you point. You pointed me in the right direction, but I keep talking around what you're doing because it's bigger than just who did you watch on TV. No, I watched the whole business. I was just a person that enjoyed being entertained by by big guys look like my uncles, so I enjoyed that. And then martial arts was something that it didn't it didn't put me on the straight line. It helped me while going through life on that straight line.
Yeah, and so you're just invested in the characters and you're watching it. You know, did you think at a young age this is what I wanted to do? I guess it didn't come
Hell,
until late.
hell no, bro. Hell no. Hell no, man. I never thought about being a pro wrestler. Didn't want to do it when they offered it to me.
What was it that made you go, okay, I got to try this?
The money, the money, I mean, that my thing was I did not want to do anything for the money. I wanted to do everything that I would enjoy doing. I set my own pace, I set my own rules, I set my own destinations, and that's where I wanted to go. But at that time, I was doing karate. It wasn't a lot of money in martial arts, and then I started hearing some of the contracts in pro wrestling. I said, let me do this. This right here I can leave karate for a little while, go be famous, be on TV for a little while. Then I can come back to karate and I can justify making more money in martial arts. Cause now who is this Ernest Miller, a pro wrestler? So that's kind of pulled me away from it, because I didn't want to do anything full time. I wanted to wrestle for 3, 4 months out the year, then come back and teach karate.
It's a grind. You really have to sacrifice a lot when you're trying to become a professional wrestler and you put a lot of work into it. So, what was your experience like learning how to wrestle?
I never learned how to wrestle. I still don't know how to wrestle. I was more a character in the business. The one thing I knew I could do the way I was a professional in the ring. Inside the ring, kickboxing, all my fights took place inside the ring. So I worked inside the ring. So one thing I know I could do was fight. So anything I needed to do, position, it was a lot of martial arts in my style of working with the wrestlers.
Well, who was someone that you would say kind of helped you mix some of the stuff you had done in your martial arts career with the professional wrestling?
Raven, Disco Inferno, Sting, Steiner Brothers, Harlem Heat, everybody was a part of helping me do what I did in the business because I would go to them and say, okay, I don't know how to take the headlock, but what would be the best way? And then they just showed me a few things and I was able to incorporate my knowledge of martial arts into it. So it was a unique style, but hey, it worked.
And you were able to just do that so well, try to be able to mix those two things, to fuse it together. And
Yeah.
it became just, and has like a slick presentation. You come out,
Yeah, I mean, it was unique. It was something totally different because they've had, wrestling had karate guys in there before that perpetrator was supposed to be a martial artist, a karate guy. They had those guys in there way before me, but I was a legit karate guy. When I said karate guy, it's a little different from an MMA guy, like Ken Shamrock and those guys. Those guys were just total brawlers. They were true to like brawlers. Martial art have a distinct way of doing everything. There's a way to do it.
and you took the ball, ran with it, and you worked for WCW. Uh, were there for 4 years. You were there until it closed, right?
No, I was there actually for about five years, and then I took about 2 years off. Then went to WWE, worked up there for about 2 or 3 years, and I only went to WWE at that time not because I was a big wrestling fan and I wanted to be a superstar in WWE. No, it wasn't that. The reason I worked with WWE actually is because I said, you know what, I'm here, I'm on top. So if I can go now, go to WWE, even if it's for a year, my legacy would be he worked in the two largest company in pro wrestling, WCW, which is not going to be around anymore, in WWE. I got to work for Ted Turner. I got to work for Vince McMahon. I worked with Eric Bischoff. I worked with The Rock. I worked with some of these legendary name guys that going to be talked about for years and years.
Well, let's compare the locker rooms for a minute because you were in both companies. WCW, you were there for a while. WWE, you spent some time there. Talk to me.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
About the differences that you noticed in the locker rooms.
To me, WCW was like a fun place. You have fun. Everybody was professional in business, but it was boys. It's like you hanging out with a lot of your family members. You know, you talk, you do everything in the locker room. Locker room was free fall. Had a great time there. That's what most of the stuff you were doing in the ring, you were doing it for the guys in the back that were watching. You wanted to do what they call pop the crowd. You wanted to pop the guys. With me, you make them laugh out loud. So that's how I was kind of motivated to do some of the things I did in the ring. But then once I went to WWE, it was a little different. When I say it's a little different, it was like going from a cool ass public school to where y'all was best football team, best basketball. We was the best at everything, all the best athlete hanging out, to a private school where you go into the locker room and people were watching and monitor. They watching the show. They were quiet. Nobody said much. You know, it was a different kind of atmosphere. You know, because they already had they set leaders. You know, they had the Undertaker. They had guys that was already there and established. So those are the guys you looked up to. And since I didn't know these guys as well as I did the one I had worked with years in WCW, it was a thing of, you know, just, hey, how you doing? Everything was kosher. Everything was nice, but it was different. Public school, locker room to like a private school, one of the top-notch private schools.
And you got to work so many different people over the course of your career. Who were some of your favorite opponents that you got to step in the ring with over the years?
I mean, I just call it a few names: Bret Hart, Goldberg, Stone Cold, The Rock. My biggest one, though, that Steiner brother. I worked with everybody, those legendary guys around that time. But, you know, the biggest name I worked with, and it was worth everything that I got and went through in WWE. And it wasn't bad. WWE wasn't bad. It was just really nerve-wracking because I was trying to get somewhere in a position that I knew nothing about. I'm in this place. I want to be a part of, you know, I'm known as one of the best in everything I've ever done. But one of the things I got there and I was good at, and I really remember, not good at, but the one thing I remember the most that really gonna stick out of my wrestling career when we talked about it, is I got to perform with the biggest star to me in professional wrestling, the biggest star, and that was Vince McMahon. So when I got to do a little bit thing in the ring with him and Sable and Vince McMahon, man, that's all I needed. I was happy. I'd have worked with the biggest name in the business.
Yeah, I was watching that segment back earlier. Man, that was funny. That was hilarious.
Oh, man, it was so fun. We didn't talk too much. Vince was a great guy to work for and to work with, man. And, I know I called a lot of old names, but there's some new guys in right now that I love watching these guys. I like watching what they're doing today, the content now. A lot of old wrestlers say we don't watch it. I like to watch it, man. I like to see what these new young guys are doing now.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that there's so much content out there now. It's accessible. You can watch it on your fingertips.
You don't even have to watch the whole show. Just watch let people dictate what you watch and have fun with it. And then you can mix in some of the old stuff. Every now and then to roll around on my Instagram, social media, some of the old stuff will pop up about me or some of my old friends, and I'd say, "Oh, I forgot about this." But
One of the cool things that I think is incredible that you got to do is you got to have a segment with the legendary James Brown.
that was a little something just for me. That was just for me. When I said they said who you want to work with, I was like, anybody? Yeah, yeah. I would like to work with James Brown. One of the Nitro girls came up and told me, said, "Hey, I used to dance with James Brown. I know his manager. Maybe we can get him in to do something." So I said, "What? It's an opportunity." So I went to the office and I said, "Hey, can we get James Brown? Would you guys bring?" Yeah, if he'll come in. So we worked that way. Next thing you know, James Brown and I will in the ring having a good time and create a moment in my life, man, that anything I ever went through in wrestling, let me tell you, I could deal with it because that was worth the money working with James Brown, legendary, somebody I watched growing up as a little kid.
I feel like when you're standing next to someone, especially someone like a James Brown, you've made it. You've made it.
You know, I like to agree with you on that, but I never looked at anything above me other than God. I don't look at situation. I made it because I'm here in this situation. I knew I was gonna be in that situation. I knew if I get out there and do what I had to do, I knew things turned out well for me. Let me just put that. If I put my mind to it and I get into it, things always turn out. I never thought wrestling was gonna be the wrestling it was to me when I got in. But as I got in, it just exploded. It seemed the Monday Night Wars, and I found myself right in the middle of probably one of the heated time or the best time in wrestling.
It was hot, man. It was real red hot. And so, WCW, you were there. You'd mentioned a couple people earlier. You worked with Goldberg, Bret Hart. What was it like being around those guys?
Shit, you need to ask them what was it like being around me because we all treated each other the same way. That's one thing I can say about wrestling. A lot of people look up to each individual star as a star, the biggest star, but we look at ourselves as we all the same. I mean, maybe they got a little bit more time in the business, maybe they get a little bit more on time on TV. But if you're a wrestler, everybody in the locker room treated you like you guys, we was on the same level, so I didn't have to really look up to anyone.
And the thing is like you're around these guys, 365, 300 days a year, going up and down the roads and away from your families, but it's really like a brotherhood, sisterhood.
Yeah. Like I said, it was like a traveling circus. It's like we will go from town to town. And it was something I've never been a part of, a traveling circus. But to me, that was as close to what it felt like, just cause you really hotel, car, drive the car, fly. You are always on the road in a different city.
What was your favorite town to wrestle in?
I was just in Texas, San Antonio, Texas. That was a pretty good place. Atlanta was a good place too. So, those are I think my two favorites.
Yeah, they really draw in a lot of crowds.
They did, but I hear they dropping off now. And they're a little difficult, to get the crowd like they do. See, you guys see what you guys see today, but when we was wrestling, they didn't have all the internet, the cell phone. If you want to see a good wrestling match, you had to come see it. We used to have lines 3, 4 hours before the doors open, just waiting around the corner just to get in, just to see us.
And it's so
Fantastic.
yeah, I mean there's no better feeling in the world when you have like a bunch of screaming fans just ready to get in, ready to enjoy the show and see their favorite wrestlers, to meet them, shake their hands, amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Now, I want to switch gears and talk about some of the stuff you've done outside of wrestling, as far as charity work. I know you've been involved with a lot of activities in the community. What kinds of things have you done to help out over the years?
Man, I helped the juvenile system here in Atlanta called Kick for Crime. I go in and work with some of the hard-head kids that they consider hard-head. No kids are hard-head, they're just hard-head, and they're just trying to show them how to reapproach thing. When I said reapproach thing, even if you made a mistake in life, listen, let's go back and see how we can handle that a little bit better. So it's all part of the mental part of martial arts. I like to work with kids. So I work with the courthouse, the juvenile court, called a kick for crime, and I teach karate. I do everything I do for this for the youth and the community. I do it through martial arts.
Wow. So you're just making a difference with teaching
I've
karate to
always
kids.
had. I started teaching karate to kids when I was 14, and I was a
14.
kid myself. I was a black belt. I got a big spread in the newspaper, local newspaper, talked about this kid helping another kid teaching karate. So I've always been able to do that, and I like to give back through martial art. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to leave here in a few because I got one of my karate instructors just sent me a thing and said he ain't gonna be able to be there, young guy in college. So
Was there like a particular instance when you're helping a kid out or you're doing something for someone else that was just a heartwarming moment?
everything I've done, I don't remember it because some of it wasn't to share. But anytime I look at a kid and they smiling and said thank you, that will heartwarming enough. That's all I need, So, or either a family come to me, hey, I hear you talk to my son. That thank you very much, Mr. Miller, and just anything, just cherishing enough to appreciate me, and appreciate my time.
Yeah, I mean, there's no
Not
better
just give me a fistful of dollars and say, hey, thanks for this. No, somebody just said, listen, thank you. That's all I need.
there's no better feeling in the world to put a smile on someone's face, really make a difference in their life. To you, what is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Because people gave me. So, I mean, people did stuff for me. I got to give back. I mean, I've lived a pretty good life. I've had things that it's a lot of people never been able to live for 1 minute. I lived a life that people probably wish they could live sometime doing things that I'm doing. So, I like to give back. I don't want to just take it with me. I always tell myself when I get to heaven, I want God to say, what do you do with all that talent you have? And I'm gonna tell him I left it or I gave it away, you know? So everything I have, I like to just try to give it away. And I've always been like that. Growing up and my mom bought me a new jacket. I get to school with a new coat on. Some kid who can't afford a coat talk to me and we're the same age. I say, here go my coat. I'll come home without my coat. My mom like, where your coat? Where your coat? I gave it to Tommy because he didn't have. Stop giving your stuff away. I've always liked that as a kid, young kid.
That's very sweet. You're making a difference and paying it forward, and that's what we need to do, as humans, try to be there for someone who needs it the most.
Mm.
Uh,
But when you try to be there for someone who needed the most, it make it sound like you choosing and picking. You never know who that person is. That's the trick part. You never know. Me and you talking right now, you can have stuff in your head that you go through that, listen, people like me won't even recognize because you doing something. You got a smile on your face. But sometimes we all need to have that person we can go to or just call, pick up the phone, call, say, hey, how you doing? You never know what's going on to people here. So you can't just try to pick and choose to give to someone who you think really need it, because sometimes they don't even appreciate it.
that's a good point. You gotta be there for as many people as you can that are
You,
going through.
exactly. You got to be there as much as you can and as often as you can.
That's right.
Because you might be that person, might need someone to call and say, hey, what you doing?
Exactly. Well, Ernest, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. I want to say thank you again for coming on to Wrestling with Heart.
Hey, brother,
You,
listen, I really appreciate that, man. Really, it was fun. I wish I had a little longer, but I'm a karate instructor, man.
yeah,
With karate school, I got a bunch of kids now running the school.
That's what it's about, Where can people find out more about you on social media? If there's anything you want to plug?
Instagram, Ernest the Cat Miller, Fourth Rope wrestling organization. I'm working with them. I'm doing some stuff with Kick for Crime, karate, martial arts. I'm on social media though. So just look me up. If you can contact me, you can contact me on that.
All right. Well, thanks again, Ernest, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.
The high-octane phenomenon, Sisu Road to Revenge, comes home with a bang. It's an insane ride and an adrenaline-filled action epic. Critics are raving with an explosive 96% score and certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, saying it's the action spectacular of the year, with some of the craziest fight set pieces ever put to screen. Don't miss the ultimate adventure. Get it now on Prime Video, Apple TV, or Fandango at Home. Rated R.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. One of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.